International Media TV. Television that listens to you.
Hi, I'm Johnnie Burrell. Welcome to the program.
We are joined here by Rose Lyles and Alton Byrd of the Bay Area Black Expo. And we're going to talk a little bit about black businesses, also share a little bit more on the event that's coming up. So let's get it started. When we think about what's going on in the economic climate here in the United States, we know that we're having some tough times. Particularly within the African American community, they may be a little more challenging. So I'd like to ask and open up by finding out, what would you say is the state of the black business these days? Rose, would you like to share?
We have a lot of new business that are coming up. There's a lot of people who are out of work that can't find work, so therefore they open new businesses. It's trying to get them to keep or stay in business. That's the situation. That's the problem.
Right on. Alton?
I tend to be more optimistic about the state of black businesses. I think what has been created in the last 4 years, 5 years is a new state of entrepreneurial behavior. I see lots of people who really don't want to work for other people, go out and create their own businesses. I think what Rose says is spot on. The sustainability of black businesses is the toughest part. But I think there are more people, more black businesses specifically, who have started to understand the value of planning. They've started to understand the value of marketing, and I think that's been enhanced by social marketing. And I think most people now start to understand the value of capital and being properly capitalized. So I would tell you that I'm optimistic about the state of black businesses. While it's tough now, there's never been a time better for black businesses to be started, to be created, and to be able to find a way to sustain themselves long term. So I think even though we're in tough times, I really do think that this is the best time to start a business. And I think there are more resources now than we've ever had before to start black businesses.
With the time being kind of this era of creativity, if funds may be a little more limited, you really have to be very, very creative. What would you want to give advice to some of the folks who are thinking to, start up a business, whether young or old or second half of life? Because I think a lot of our, baby boomers, middle-aged folks are like, what do I want to do now? And usually that is starting up their own business. So what do you think are some good points?
My suggestion would be to go with something that you enjoy doing. I'm a graphic designer by trade, and so being a graphic designer, I can trade. I can charge for my services. For someone who's going into business, I would say they would need to charge for the products and services that they provide, and that's how I would, encourage them to start up if they don't have access to capital.
What do you think is the best mindset that they can adopt, that startup early adopters?
Well, it's a really interesting question, because one of the things that I've learned in working with small businesses and entrepreneurs is the reason most businesses get started is people have to understand and connect to why they do things. I've learned over time watching people that it's not what you do, it's really why you do it. And if you understand why you do it, and you can communicate why you started a business, then it becomes much easier and much more probable that you'll be successful. What happens is people get distracted. They forget why they do it, and then they don't succeed. So the first thing I would say is, why are you starting this business? And really stay connected to why you're starting it, and get some core values around how you're going to run it. And I think from there, all of your creativity then becomes successful.
Right on. I think it's important, as we have both of you here as the co-producers for the Bay Area Black Expo, to find where your why came from. So sharing about your childhood, I think our viewers want to know that in your origin, or plural origins. I know I've read a little bit about each of your backgrounds, but I'd love for you to share with me a little bit more about how business came into your life, how the different evolution of partnerships came together. So, Rose.
Well, my entrepreneurial spirit comes from generations. My father, actually, even though he worked with IBM, he also had another side business as a CPA. So he had his own business, and then my stepfather has a business in Southern California. So my entrepreneurial spirit, again, like I said, is sparked by my parents. My mother is a realtor, broker, and then I also, did weddings and
That's right.
went into, do my graphic design work and then trade shows. So, yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's nice to be a part of a family of entrepreneurship.
Right.
You got immediate mentors, and when it's blood, that helps.
Exactly.
That helps a lot. Indeed. Okay. Well, Alton.
Yeah, I guess my journey has been diversified a little bit.
Right.
I started as wanting to work as an investment broker. That was always my dream in college. My sports background kind of changed that.
That was basketball, was it not?
Yeah, and having played basketball until I was 37, through high school, college, and then at the professional level, yielded different opportunities to be an entrepreneur, either, as an event planner for the NBA and the NFL, or as general manager of an NFL Europe League team. I've had this kind of unique, kind of blended background of not only being an entrepreneur, but also working in corporate America or corporate Britain. So my mother was an entrepreneur. My father was a bartender and bar manager in San Francisco during the golden years of the Fillmore. So I'm I guess I am an entrepreneur. I think my journey has been circuitous, and so I kind of like the idea of owning a business, running a business, controlling, the things that I can control. And the most important thing is, my entrepreneurial behavior is based on the success of relationships that I build, and my ability to build relationships, get people committed to relationships with me, and then really understanding how to sustain them for the long term. So it's been a fun journey, a long journey, a frustrating journey.
I'm sure.
But it's more joyful than anything else. I wouldn't trade being, going back to corporate America for being an entrepreneur. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Got it.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to be prepared for the risks, because there are risks involved.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's important, as you would share, to connect to that passion. I've spoken to youngsters who are going into college, and one of the big things that I share with them is ideally, if you can connect passion with your profession, that would be great. If they can be, at least have your passion and your profession, but when they can be combined, that's even more ideal. I'd like to hear how you've been able to bridge that with some of your work, or whether it's initiatives. You spoke about your passion for sports and bringing that and learning. What are some of the passion connections with you there, Rose?
One of the businesses that I started earlier on was a wedding planning business. And I just had this fascination for helping women to see their dreams come true. My wedding wasn't so grand. I mean, I got married by the Justice of the Peace, so I never had that, dream wedding come, So my passion for the bridal business back then was to be able to help brides see their dream.
Right.
When I couldn't help but one woman at a time, it wasn't my desire, so I went into the trade show, the bridal trade show planning, and then that kind of sparked off into the expo, so that we can help more businesses to see and meet people, bring the people together with the people who, the businesses that they need to make their dreams come true.
Right on. I love I think the website or the company name, was it Before I Do?
Before I Do.
I think that's just so cool.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that goes before that.
Exactly.
On so many levels, I'm sure. Not married yet, but I know there's a lot before I Do comes. I was thinking about, we're talking about how things come up for entrepreneur ventures and things that you learn along the way. There's some folks out there that just have a passionate idea. They want to get it out there. Some folks do the MBA and get Wharton and all those, which is obviously great. Some folks just do it. How would you balance the kind of education in versus the just creative expression and creative innovation? How to balance those? Because we know about the Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, who clearly were amazing geniuses in their own right, and they kind of just did it, learned along the way. They really did it. So, what are your thoughts on again, education, creative innovation?
Well, I'm, I guess, the right brain thinker in this duo.
Yes, that would be correct. That would be really correct. Yes.
So when you talk about creative, then yes, I am that passionate, creative person, and I think we balance each other well because Alton has got more strategic vision and more structure. So for us, I think it works. It works well.
Yeah, and honestly, what tends to happen in most businesses is people don't spend enough time in strategy. I use a model called the 5 layers of coaching or 5 layers of understanding how to run a business. And the first layer is usually around concept. People have a great idea and, this idea is going to work. And why is this idea going to work? Because I've seen someone else do it and it seems like a good idea. As you well know, there's no such thing as a new idea.
Right.
There's always someone else has done it, and the question becomes, how much better can you do it than the last person you saw doing it?
Exactly.
But what most people do is they automatically go from a great idea to implementation, and they skip a step. And when they skip a step, it's usually when they fail because they didn't put enough time in the second layer, which is strategy.
Yeah.
And you really have to spend enough time strategically looking at how you're going to be positioned, who your clients are, how you're going to connect with them, and getting them to understand why you're in business. So there are 5 layers: concept, strategy, implementation, leveraging, and then what happens next. If you skip any one of those layers, you tend to find that most entrepreneurs fail. That's why you see entrepreneurs fail, and then they start something else, and then they fail, and then they start something else. And some people have to get to the 4th or 5th business before they realize, I got to spend more time in that whole strategic development part. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to capitalize it, I'm not going to be able to get the money for it, and I'm certainly not going to be able to sustain it.
Right on. Say those 5 again to our guests, those 5 points again.
So there's 5 layers that we see as a part of making businesses work. 1 is concept, 2 is really the strategic part, strategy, 3 is implementation, 4 is how am I going to leverage? How am I going to leverage my knowledge? And 5 is what happens next? What do we do next? How do we grow forward? So the 5 layers really kind of make sense for us.
Right.
But what most people do is they skip a step or 2 and hope that it works.
You can't miss one of those.
You can't miss any of them.
I hear
you try.
Right.
You
learn on the back
funny,
end.
You mentioned Bill Gates, and I don't know if you've ever read Outliers.
I haven't, not yet.
Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called Outliers. And Outliers is about how the super successful people became successful. And it's really interesting. People don't know Bill Gates spent 8 years writing code, living on somebody's couch. And the theory is, it takes you 10,000 hours to master something.
Got it.
Now, I can apply that because I played basketball for 17, 18 years. And before that, I did all my work, in a schoolyard.
Right.
So I know I did 10,000 hours in a year, just playing schoolyard basketball, which allowed me to grow. But Bill Gates, all of these guys have really managed how to get 10,000 hours of knowledge before they became great at what they did.
Good. Makes sense.
So that book was a real game changer for me.
Now, you talked about the partnership, the balance of, right brain, left brain. Also speak about the partnership of a woman and a man in that partnership, those dynamics. How have you been able to work with that and make that very effective in your partnership?
You want to speak to that?
That's one of those. I'm not sure that there's ever an answer to that.
Right.
There are clearly. I'm one of the folks who believe women are better business people than men, because women have more natural instincts about people, and most people forget that the most important thing about a business is the people who run it, not the idea. It's your ability to interact with people. And women, quite naturally, they just have better vision. They have a better sense of what's right. They have a better sense of fairness. They have a more openness. With that said,
Yes.
there are inherent risks that go with that, which means that the natural flow is they have better instincts, but sometimes they lay themselves open and become more vulnerable. And then there's you have to know women who can be tough and fair and empathetic all in the same, and that's rare.
Yeah.
So I think women have better business sense. Most women have much better financial sense. Most women have, the ability to make more rational decisions. But it sometimes lays you open to vulnerabilities, and in business, guys see the throat and they go after your throat. So.
What's
And
your
it
take
works
there,
well
Rose?
for us, though. It works well for us. I mean, as a partnership, both of us have our strengths, and it works well.
And we have our weaknesses,
Right. And I'm sure you've had to have whatever that conversation or continued conversations when
we have
those
those
come
every
up.
day,
When those come
there's
up.
a fight every day. But
Gotcha.
one of the things we promised each other as partners, which I think is setting ground rules, is there can't ever be a time when you can't say what you feel.
Right.
It may be painful, it might be abrasive, sometimes rude, but it's better out than in.
Exactly.
Because if you allow it to fester, the stress takes over, and then all of a sudden you start
We don't
making
want that.
decisions that aren't good for you or your partner. So
Right.
we've learned to do that.
Indeed, in lessons moving forward in the business world, mentors are important. And I think about myself as entering the entrepreneur world. I left the medical career to do more, in the health and wellness and arts arena, yoga, photography, all of that. And so I've at this point kind of learned through some observation, obviously, talking with folks much like yourself. But what would you say about the whole mentorship and whether, perhaps some of your own mentors, but also to our viewers and how important that is in moving in the business world?
I think mentors are very important. Actually, before we went into business together, Alton was a mentor of my own.
Right on. That's cool.
And again, my parents have mentored me along the way because, again, they are in the business, in the business world and successful. So I do believe mentors are very, very important. And I encourage those who don't have mentors to actually, look into it.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm always clear about the distinction between mentors and coaches. I think mentors are people who kind of tell you this is going to happen to you, and you might want to be aware of it. And I think coaches are a little different. Coaches tend to say, what do you think's going to happen, and how are you going to deal with this, and this. And what's your solution?
Yes.
Because what I've found is we have the answers. We sometimes just need validation. And so coaching and mentoring is different. My mom taught me an awful lot about people. She wasn't always the friendliest, but she taught me, you're gonna have to learn to deal with all races, colors, creeds, and it's not gonna be fair. I've had a great coach who coached me when I was working for the Kings, a guy named Robert Emerson.
And Sacramento Kings.
And he kind of brought me full circle about accountability. I've had a mentor in the UK, a guy named Ed Percival, who was my life coach for years, and he still is. He's a guy I've always had a great deal of respect for, because he's always been very calm and he's always kind of got me back to, so remind me again why you're doing this.
Right. The why.
So and so that always helps, and it helps me in my partnership with Rose. Sometimes you want to throttle her, and you kind of go, she's your partner. She's not somebody that you want to disrespect. It happens in business all the time. So very lucky that I've had mentors and coaches who have kind of pulled the best out of me. And of course, playing basketball, you play for people that touch your lives, because you spend 10 months of the year every day, 80 games a year playing basketball with a group of guys and coaches who kind of give you direction about your life. So.
Thinking about mentorship, also thinking about our young folks who may want to be, or looking to become entrepreneurs. What advice would you have for some of the young folks, whether in the mentorship realm? Some folks are talking about sports, may want to be in that NBA. That may not pan out. What's your plan? B, C, D, E. A good friend of mine had the vision to play professionally. Didn't happen. Became a coach, on many different teams, assistant coach, and now he's a head coach. And so the head coach had become his vision, and he got his MBA for all that. So that's one vision that I'd love to share to our viewers. What would you like to share for the young folks who are looking to get out there in the business world?
Well, I would just say follow your dreams, follow your vision, follow your heart. I think it all comes from, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And then make it happen. Because there's tools and there's resources and there's people out there who are willing to help.
Always available.
Yep. I know when I was younger, we'd have these old wives' tales that say, you have to go get a job, go to school, get a job, go to work. But sometimes it's just not that way. Sometimes you have to be an entrepreneur to follow your dream, to make it happen. Yeah. So.
Follow those dreams.
Yeah, follow your dreams.
Appreciate it. What you thinking of, Alton?
I would spend a lot of time with, especially in our community, because we're a very creative group of people. Creative not just artistically, but we're creative in how we think, how we see things, how we live our lives, the way we live. And with youngsters, you're really gonna have to get them to understand that the more attractive fields of endeavor, entertainment, sports, the high-profile stuff. I love the adage that the NC2A coined when they usually during March Madness they run ads which specifically say, all of our athletes are going to turn professional in something other than sports.
Yes, that is.
And if
key.
you can get people to understand that, less than 1% of kids play professional sports. 70% of kids quit playing sports at the age of 13. At the end of the day, you're going to have to learn how to do something you love to do. And I always ask kids a really simple question: what would you do for free?
Yeah. Best question.
What would you
ever.
do for free if money was no issue? You didn't have to worry about a roof over your head and food in your mouth and your Nikes and all that. What would you do for free? And when you connect them with that, all right, now let's figure out what kind of resources you need to follow your passion, follow your dreams, and then really kind of understand that it's now going to take hard work and there's going to be rough days, but you got to stick to it. That's what my mother always said to me. She
Stick
said,
to it.
you can't quit. And Lord knows, I have wanted to quit at just about everything I ever tried.
Sure.
But there have been times when you kind of go. So that's what I would say to kids.
Right on. What would you say to the person who wants to start a business and has very little capital, has the passion, the vision, knows exactly why, we'll just keep with that question, knows exactly why they want to do what they want to do? What are some of the strategies that you would want to share for them to perhaps either search for resources or just how they can move forward with that?
Well, here in Oakland, there's an organization for women called Women's Initiative. And Women's Initiative actually will take you through all the steps of entrepreneurism, you know, from your vision to how to do your business plan, how to source capital, how to talk to the SCORE, you know, professionals, which are actually business professionals who are no longer working in the work field, but they're available to provide information. So that's what Women's Initiative does, and it's a nonprofit organization here in Oakland. And these particular women, as a matter of fact, at our last year's expo, we had several of our exhibitors who came through Women's Initiative who now have businesses who have actually opened up their storefronts in Oakland.
Right on.
So, I mean, I think just by having that resource has allowed them, you know, and other women to actually follow their dream and their passion, even though they don't have any income or limited funds.
Right on. Right on. Okay. What do you think there, Alton?
Well, you know, entrepreneurs tend to find ways to do things. I go back to the 5 layers of how you establish, you know, whether it be your business or your career. And I think when you have a great idea, one of the first things you want to do is really identify how you're going to position what you do, whether it's as a consultant or graphic designer or whatever it is you do. Those that don't have the resources, there's so many fundamental ways to find resources. There are banks, there are microloan organizations, there's the Kivas of the world, where the business model is we loan to small businesses. We create, capital opportunities for small businesses. I have met several organizations in the Bay Area who literally will give you money, but you've got to have the strategies in place to be able to move forward before you get to implementation. So I'm a believer that resources are out there.
Right on.
What happens is entrepreneurs get disappointed when they've been rejected once, 8 times, 30 times. But there's going to be one group, and ultimately, we would hope that the expo will spawn opportunities for entrepreneurs to meet capital in one place on a year-round basis.
Yes.
And if we could do that, we will have met our mission for youngsters, for women, for seniors who are looking for something to do, who have a creative idea. That is going to be our mission, to be able to help people get resources to build their best lives and their best businesses, in that order.
Beautiful. Having gone to the Bay Area Black Expo since I've been a youngster, I'm really excited to hear more about what to expect. So what are some of the people that we're looking to see there?
We have some celebrities that are already booked and are excited that they're going to be joining us for the weekend. You have to come to see them. Yeah. So, and then we also have cooking demonstrations with Cuisine Noir.
Yes,
They'll be doing. She's going to have people on hand who are going to be doing celebrity chefs who will be here doing the cooking demonstrations. We'll have a fitness trainer who's going to be here doing fitness for the expo with workshops, all type of workshops, including youth entrepreneurism, which is one of the things we talked about earlier.
Yes.
And then again, we just are looking to have anywhere from 120 to 175 vendors from nationwide, local and nationwide.
Yes.
It's going to be great.
I know it's going to be a real big event.
It's going to be big.
How many people are we expecting to come?
We'll have 10,000 plus here.
There we go.
And they will be across the board. Youngsters, there will be senior citizens, there will be men, women, so it'll be across the board. We also planning on having a Greek step show, which will be fun.
Oh, yes.
So we'll do our own version, Stomp the Yard. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of activity. There'll be a children's zone. There'll be lots of financial workshops. So there will be plenty for every single realm, niche of the community to be able to come and experience. And really, it's about empowerment and really speaking directly to how we can impact people financially, how we can impact their careers, how we can impact their personal growth, how we can really impact their relationships, their community involvement, their health and fitness, and then their fun time, their leisure time. So we're putting all that together for the 2012 Bay Area Black Expo, and hopefully I think what people will see is a new feel, a new flavor, and a continuation of Dr. Howell's dream of going forward.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, we forgot to tell you, we also are having a huge Sunday Gospel Day. So we're going to have a gospel explosion, lots of choirs, lots of fun music, lots of great, soul entertainment. So it's going to be uplifting.
It's going to be fun to do and uplifting.
That's what we
Uplifting. And again, like Alton was mentioning, Dr. Howell, without her vision and without her creative genius, the expo wouldn't be where it is today.
Yes. Now with the new vision of the Bay Area Black Expo, we've done some more creative means of marketing and strategy, and I've believe that you have some other events outside of those 2 days. How have you been able to work all that in sharing about the Black Expo?
Strategic planning.
There we go.
Trying to get in front of things as opposed to being reactive.
Yes.
So we've been doing monthly mixers ever since December around the Bay Area. We've also been focused on creating better relationships and more relationships with strategic sponsors and partners. We have been out in the community more, so we're at more events. We've decided to take a strategic view of putting information in people's hands, not them just seeing it visually. So we've been way more strategic about how we're doing it. But the events that we are focused on are building on legacy things that we've done.
Yes.
We've had the Hill Harpers of the world come talk about wealth for youth,
Yes.
How to build wealth, how to create better relationships with money. And so that's going to be a continuation of what we do, and we're invested in that.
Right. As a matter of fact, Hill was one of the celebrities we had last year
Right on.
who actually donated money out of his own pocket to to one of the attendees to help him with his vision, and help him get on his feet in another way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, this event is going to be amazing. Let's be sure to give our viewers all the correct information. Share the date and location for our folks.
So the date is September 8th and 9th, right here at the Oakland Convention Center, in the center of Oakland. You can get here by BART. There's plenty of parking. Ticket prices are $10 for adults, $5 for kids and seniors. We'll have plenty of activity. We actually open at 10 o'clock on Saturday, close at 6 o'clock Saturday, and then 10 o'clock Sunday, and close at 6 o'clock on Sunday. So what we want for the community to do, and we mean the community, from San Francisco to San Jose to the East Bay to the North Bay and Marin, we literally want everybody to come out and enjoy the experience and really celebrate what we believe is going to be one of the most successful expos in the United States.
Yes.
And you can always find us online at www.bayareablackexpo.com.